And I do believe we're live. Good morning, good morning, good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning. Uh, it's a cold, windy, rainy day here in Florida. It's actually a beautiful day. It's of course, it's not so hot. I'm not quite sure what the temperature is. For some reason, I'm just about to sneeze, so forgive me if I sneeze. But yeah, it's a little cold, a little rainy, and I'm wearing long sleeves. Look, see, it's actually, can you see this? Long sleeves today. Having said that, this is sort of like a very fine t-shirty material. So, and I'm actually too warm. Anyway, where am I going with this? Good morning, good morning. Welcome to our The Spirit World Sees All. Yes, it really does. The spirit world really does see all. So before we begin, I'd like to say good morning to my spirit guide, Grey Eagle, who is standing as always to my right side. And I'd like to say good morning to Chris. Chris, are you there?
I am here, and we have not only long sleeves, but sweaters.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Here I am saying it's a chilly day, which it's probably around 70 something, which is wonderful, because we sort of, in Florida, we do need a little respite from the heat. And unlike, many people's ideas of Florida is that every day is a scorching, raring hot day, but that isn't true at all. Although we do have an awful lot of sunshine. There's a good reason why Florida is called the Sunshine State. Um, but I'm I'm a little concerned about my gardenias. I've got a nice hedge of gardenias that I've been building up, and I don't know what happened. They flowered beautifully, and all the flowers dropped off and rotted. I think they got too much rain or too much water or something like that. Anyway, um, why am I rabbiting on about gardening? Anyway, all right. So I'm very excited this week because it's a new month, obviously. We're looking forward to sort of real fall weather, crispy, crispy weather. My grandson is very excited about this time of year because in New York City, where he lives, the ice rinks start to get open, and he's a great skater. He loves ice skating. So the ice rinks start to come open, and everybody's wearing their warm coats and fluffy hats and mittens. And I'm so pleased I'm not there in that freezing cold. But anyway, but it is the time of year when things are happening. And in my country, in England, tomorrow, I mean, and I'm sure lots and lots of kids are getting sort of really excited about tomorrow, because tomorrow is Guy Fawkes Day, the celebration which goes back to, I think, if I remember my date, 1606 or 1600, something like that, in the very early 1600s, when poor old Guy Fawkes sort of had this plot to blow up the Houses of Parliament and put a gunpowder. It's well known for being known as the gunpowder plot. Now, okay, 1600s, and where are we now? We're in the 2021. I can't count how many hundreds of years that is, but it's a lot of hundreds of years. Chris, do the math for me. Anyway, it's a lot of hundreds of years, and still we are still celebrating that day. The government of the time declared it a national day of celebration. And poor old Guy Fawkes, and along with all of his co-conspirators, and the unfortunate thing is that the person who actually began the gunpowder plot, and was the instigator for the gunpowder plot, you never hear of him at all. Nobody ever mentions him or any of the other people who plotted. It's poor old Guy Fawkes who gets all of it dumped on him as if he's the one and only who did it. But it was a conspiracy to blow up the Houses of Parliament. And if you actually look at the history, now we know that violence is no answer. It's absolutely not the answer to anything. However, during would it be now I'm testing my own self here. I think it was Queen Mary. It could have been Elizabeth I, but I think it was Queen Mary. And very fanatical about her religious beliefs, and she was a Protestant. So all of those poor Catholics at that time in England were, well, their churches were burned, they were ostracized, they were not allowed to practice their religion. You can understand why people were rebelling about this awful injustice. And so that's why the gunpowder plot was first devised, to protest the fact that, the poor Catholics had nowhere to go. People used to have to hide, the priests of the day used to have to hide and hold secret services. They were often found out and they were often executed simply for their beliefs. Haven't we come an awfully long way in our life since then? Or have we? Because people are still being ostracized, not necessarily hung, drawn and quartered, which was a barbaric way that the Brits had of disposing of their perceived criminals. People were hung, drawn and quartered, which was disgraceful, really. Drawn and quartered while they were still alive. A very gruesome, very nasty way to die. And here we are celebrating the 5th of November. But most kids only see it as good old Guy Fawkes. That's the thing, the effigy that we build, old shirt, old pants, stuffed with newspaper or straw or whatever. If you're lucky enough to be in the country, stuffed with straw. Otherwise, when we were kids, we used to stuff our Guy with newspaper, and then sort of take it on a makeshift trolley and stand on the corner, hold out our hands as kids, saying penny for the Guy, penny for the Guy. And when somebody give us a penny, and my sister and I, my youngest sister and I, Madeline, we'd get the penny and off we'd run to the candy store and buy bubble gum or whatever it was we were never allowed to have. So, and we had the fireworks, and we never had a bonfire in our house. But the kid who was a neighbor, just sort of catty corner to us, we would share, his parents would always build him a bonfire and they'd have fireworks. So we'd go and stand at the bottom of the garden and share his fireworks with him and share his bonfire with him, and and all of that good stuff, which really wasn't so good. But anyway, it is still the tradition. Thank goodness now things are much more organized. Instead of having small bonfires in people's back gardens, I think there's much more of a community spirit about it. So each community has their own big bonfire, and they have proper guardianship over the fireworks and so on and so forth. And tomorrow night, because it is bonfire night, yes, that's what we call it, bonfire night. Tomorrow night, being the 5th of November, we're going to be doing an off the cuff, but I'm going to tell you one or two stories about my own bonfire night and my own bonfire experiences. And I'm going to tell you a story that happened to me when I was carrying my daughter. I was on total bed rest for the whole 9 months of carrying my daughter, and I happened to watch something that changed the course of bonfire night for me and for my poor little girl too, who was never allowed to celebrate bonfire night. I can tell you that story tomorrow night. I'm not quite sure, Chris, do we know what time it's going to be, the off the cuff?
We haven't decided yet, hence off the cuff. So it's really up to you, Rosemary.
Well, what do you think about, I don't know, 7 o'clock or something?
That sounds fine to
It
me.
is off the cuff, so which means we can please ourselves. But it would be nice if anyone in England is still awake at midnight tomorrow night, having had all of your celebrations, eaten your sausages, eaten your potatoes, which we used to wrap the potatoes in foil and push them underneath the bonfire to cook. There are lots of traditions, and of course we invite anybody who has their own bonfire story, anyone who has their own Guy Fawkes story, to join us tomorrow night in our off the cuff. We usually don't plan it because that's what off the cuff means. It means spontaneous, and you never know when we're going to pop up. But anyway, we should be popping up tomorrow night in off the cuff around 7, if that's okay with Chris. We'll talk about it later. I shall definitely be here, and I shall definitely be available. So now, what else is coming up this month? Oh yes, I know what else is coming up this month. Did you all see the newsletter this week? Did you see the newsletter? Oh wait, only those of you who are on the mailing list will see the newsletter. But didn't Chris do a brilliant job? I thought she did a really brilliant job. And did you read my little thing that I put in the newsletter? Because I always try to put something in the newsletter every month too. If you did not get our newsletter and you're wondering, well, how do I get it then? How do I find the newsletter then? Well, you just simply have to, it's very simple. You have to go to our website, rosemaryaltea.com, and just press the subscribe button. The subscribe button, it doesn't cost you anything. I promise you we will not inundate you with emails every day or even every week. We send out maybe 2 or 3 emails a month. But if you're on the mailing list, it means actually that you get all of our news way before it's happening. All of you who think to yourselves when we've had an event or we're talking about an event, when you say to yourself, I didn't know about that. Well, if I'd have known about that, I would have been there. I would have loved to have listened to that, etc., etc. We've had so many people actually when we did our big story time, our Halloween story time. I've got a Halloween story for you, by the way. When we did our big Halloween night and we had people tell stories and I told some spooky stories, we've had so many people who said, but I didn't know that was happening. I didn't know about that. So there are lots of things that we do, and there are lots of things coming up that we do. So in order to find out, in order to make sure that you are ahead of the game and that you are with us, if you go to the website, rosemaryaltea.com, press that little subscribe button. That automatically, gives you a little, sends you straight to the mailing list. And then, therefore, we can send you once a month our newsletter. But however, we also, and for all of you who are already subscribed, and all of you who are thinking perhaps that you should subscribe, at the end of this month to say thank you to our subscribers, because we do love to have our subscribers. We're sending you all a little gift. You have to be subscribed. Unfortunately, you have to be subscribed to get the little gift, but we think you'll like it. And Chris is working on devising this little thing, and we're excited to give it to all of our subscribers. It'll probably come in the form of an email, but I think it's a gift just the same, and you'll love it. I'm pretty sure you will love it. Do you want to say any more about that, Chris, before we move on?
No, I think you covered it all, Rosemary. I know you've got a big happening Sunday morning.
Well, not exactly a big happening, but I do have to say I've had so many wonderful responses about my baked apples. I don't know why, because they're simple, they're easy, but they're so delicious. All right, so yes, well, I actually, because it's it's apple season, isn't it? It was apple season in October, it's apple season now. We're getting some amazing and delicious apples popping up all in the grocery stores. And if you are fortunate enough to have apple trees in your garden, or you have an orchard, as I used to do years ago, or I have friends who have friends who have family who have a fantastic family apple orchard, and my daughter and my grandson went there a couple of weeks ago to do all of that apple picking stuff, and what else, the hay rides, and the scarecrows and the pumpkins and all of that stuff. So it's that kind of season. So I've been requested to do another apple dessert. So so I'm doing that on Sunday. So this dessert, I have to tell you, you could practically do it with your eyes closed. It is the simplest, the easiest, the quickest, and I feel one of the most delicious apple desserts. No, it is not apple pie. No, it is no, and it is not. What do Americans have? Apple crisp. I remember once being given a recipe for apple crisp. I'd never made it before. I was very excited to make it, and part of the recipe was sunflower seeds. Now, do remember, everyone, I'm British. We don't have sunflower seeds in England. We might now, but all those years ago, I'd never seen a sunflower seed. I didn't know what it was. So anyway, the recipe called for sunflower seeds. So fair enough. And it called for orange juice and apples and sugar and sunflower seeds and other stuff. And when I have apples, if I'm eating apples, I like to eat apples. I don't necessarily like them filled with all that other, lots of other stuff. That's just me. However, I made, and I don't know if Gary's listening this morning, I made an apple crisp, and it looked good and it smelled good. Okay, I think it had oats or something on the top. I don't remember. Anyway, and so I invited my friend Gary. Some of you met him last Friday night when he told his spooky story about how the ceiling fell down and his great grandmother scared the pants off him by shouting at him to get out. And otherwise, if he hadn't, the ceiling would have fallen down on him and crushed him. But anyway, that's a whole other story. I'm digressing. So Gary came. Gary came for lunch, and another friend of mine came for lunch, and so I brought it out of the oven. It smelled good. They're saying, "Oh, that looks really nice." It's something I had never made before, so I always like to have testers. I always like, when I've made something for the first time, I like other people to try it out. So, okay. So we're eating away. I've made a delicious custard to go with it. So we're eating away. And I come across this hard thing in my mouth. And what is that? It's not saying too much, but I'm pulling it out of my mouth and putting it delicately on the side of my plate, as you could imagine that I would do. And then I noticed Gary was sort of spitting something out. And then my other friend was spitting. And at some point, I'm thinking, there's something in here that shouldn't be in here. And then Gary said to me, what have you got in here? He says, having spit out for the fourth or the fifth or however many times. What have you got? What's in here? So I said, sunflower seeds. And my other friend looked at me and started laughing. She said, did you get ones with shells on? And I said, what? She said, I think these sunflower seeds have got shells on, that you should have used sunflower seeds without shells. And it turned out that that's what I'd done. I bought a packet of sunflower seeds, which apparently you're supposed to shell. Who knew? Apparently you're supposed to shell them and eat them one at a time or two at a time, whatever it is. But you can actually get packets of sunflower seeds without their shells, which I had failed to. Look, it said sunflower seeds on the recipe. What can I tell you? One of my absolute failures in the kitchen. I blame America. I blame the sunflower seeds. I blame the fact that nobody told me. Let's blame everybody else. Nobody told me I didn't even know they were hard. I didn't even know they had shells on. I just tipped them in, opened the packet, tipped them in, hope for the best. I did think they looked a bit strange, I have to say. So maybe while I'm blaming everybody else, maybe I should look at me and blame me, because if they were strange, I should have tried them out, right? Something. Anyway, Gary, just so you know, on Sunday, we are making not apple crisp, not apple pie. We are going to be making my very favorite of all time, apple crumble. And apple crumble is delicious, and it's the simplest thing in the entire world to make. If you want to add raisins or other fruit, dried berries or whatever, you can do that. My recipe is just going to be plain, simple apples. I'm not going to add anything to them. So all you need is apples, butter, flour, sugar, white sugar, brown sugar, that's it. That's it. Everybody, that's it, people. It's the simplest, the easiest, and the most delicious thing to make. So on Sunday morning, I'm going to be showing you how to make a good old, as I used to do it, as I used to eat it at school when I was a kid, as I used to make it for my daughter when she was a little girl. Good old apple crumble. Very simple, very easy. It does not require you to be able to cook. I promise. Just follow me and you can find the recipe for that. If you want to get the stuff in, you can make it along with me. You can I'll take you step by step. It's the most ridiculous recipe ever. It's ridiculously easy, ridiculously simple. I should say you cannot go wrong, and I'm pretty certain that you can't go wrong. So that's what we're going to be making. I'm also, because it's so quick, so easy, and so simple, I might think of talking about something else or making another recipe or something, or maybe we'll have a place in the show on Sunday where if you've got a recipe that you'd like to share with me, hey, tell me about it. We can have a chat while we're waiting for the apple crumble to bake. How about that? Yes. So that's this coming Sunday. So if you had the newsletter in hand, you would know what we were doing, wouldn't you? You'd know all of that. So, and I think you'll find it nice and easy reading too. It's not a great lengthy 3 or 4 page thing that we send you. It's quite short, quite neat. We're very, very well aware that people do not have time to read pages and pages and pages of stuff, especially the emails that come through. So if you want our emails, if you want our newsletter, and if you're a subscriber, if you want this little gift, which we're comprising, Chris is making this thing up even as we speak. It'll be available by the end of the month, and every time somebody subscribes, I think what we'll do is we'll probably send that along to them after that. So if you don't get to subscribe by the end of the month, don't panic. We shall still be sending you things, and we shall also be doing other things for our mailing list, because we've never actually done anything for the people on our mailing list, and we thought, it's about time that we honored the people on our mailing list, because I do consider you all to be fans, can I say, groupies, can I hopefully say. Anyway, we love to have people on our mailing list, and so we're going to make sure that we give you a little heads up from time to time, simply for our way of saying thank you to you for supporting us. Chris, I've done talking. People are thinking, yay, thank goodness for that. Yay, she's done. Shall we have some comments or some questions?
Well, we're starting right off with the questions. And thank you to everyone in our chat room who has put the hashtag subscribed Rosemary Altea,
Oh,
because
yes,
that will
thank you.
help us alert to others that they have this opportunity too.
Right. Okay.
All right, so Cheryl has the first question.
Hi, Cheryl.
When we pass over, do we have the ability to pick someone on the earth plane to help and watch over?
Oh, that's a really good question. Well, for every situation is different. Every opportunity is different. Every person is given different opportunities. I know that there are certain people, because I've written about it, so I know that there are certain people who are working with angels, and I know that there are some young children who pass into the spirit world who then work with our angels to help other young children um, come to the spirit world, because so often when our children pass, we really want to know, don't we, as parents, as friends, as maybe friends of the family, we really want to know that our children are going to be welcomed by our angels, lifted by our angels, and helped when they get over to the spirit world. And I know that there are people who leave this earth plane and who do work with their angels in that regard. I also know that there are people who I've spoken to, people who I know work in almost as if it's almost in a, let's say, a nursing capacity, or helping people who are coming to this, who are coming to them to help them to adjust and so on. I also do know that many times with our friends and our families, we are able to be with them. And so often I have someone in the spirit world who will say, oh, that's my daughter, or that's my grandson, and you know, I'm his angel, or I'm, and what they really mean is they mean they're that person's earth angel. In other words, they are part of this soul cluster, that we are part of this earth soul cluster that we're part of. And so I know that it's possible for us to choose to be there for our loved ones, to help and to guide them and to steer them. So I know that's possible. I'm also hoping, of course, for my own for my own self, I'm hoping that when I pass into the spirit world, that well, I think wild horses would not be able to drag me away. I'm saying that hopefully. I'm listening to Greg. I'm taking a little quick check here that this will be okay. But I do know, as I'm sure many of you who are leaving your children and your grandchildren behind, my daughter and my grandson are my priority, and will be my priority, hopefully in this life and in the next. And so I choose them to help and to guide. Will they listen? I'm not sure, but I'm hoping that they will a lot of the time. My daughter is a very sensitive and very aware person, and my grandson is shaping up to be a little bit like me. So I know that he will be able to see, to sense, to be aware, and I know that he'll be looking for me once I'm gone. Not really gone, you know what I mean. Chris.
Natalie's hoping you'll have a message for her from her son Gabriel.
Well, I'm actually I'm listening to Grey Eagle, and at the moment I don't see anyone. I don't hear anything. I'm not aware. So oh, there you are. Yeah, so much to my surprise, because I was going to just about say, no, I don't, Natalie. I wish I had more time for this. We don't have a lot of time, and this could take a little bit of time. You know, if you would like, all of you, any of you out there who would like a message from the spirit world, we do, you know, once a month or once every 6 weeks, we do have our Connecting with the Spirit World, which is our webinar. And I do suggest, you know, if you want to have more of a chance to have a longer message, longer connection, that you subscribe to our webinars where we connect with the spirit world. We spend, it's generally a 3-hour webinar. We should be having one I think in December. So watch out for that. Again, if you subscribe, you'll know exactly when it's coming. You'll know exactly when the date is, because you'll see it on the newsletter. Or you know, the other means of making a connection are to book a consultation. If you want to know more about that, then email us, Chris, K-R-I-S, at rosemaryaLtea.com, or simply go to the website again and see what you had to do there. I'm talking away to you, but at the same time, I'm listening very carefully. I'm catching brief glimpses of it's hard to say. I want to say golden hair, but it could be the light behind this boy that I'm seeing. I'm not entirely sure. But I have to tell you, thank you, Natalie. I hope I got that right. Natalie, I have to tell you, Natalie, that you have a child here who is not only an incredibly beautiful soul, not only an incredibly beautiful angel, but is blowing kisses and sending lots of love. And I understand it's either a birthday or an anniversary, a celebration of some kind coming up here. It's a special day or a special date coming up, and he wants you to know he'll be right there. He'll be right there with you. And this I think I'm hoping this is what you're hoping for. So there you have it. You probably, I hope I'm not confused you. Please let us know if you understand that message. But lots of love coming your way. Chris.
Patricia's asking, can we choose where we go when we pass over?
I think, Patricia, I think we can to some extent. But I think what happens is, this is my understanding, that, depending on how we have lived this life here, and I don't mean whether we've been good or bad. I mean, did we learn? Did we learn what we needed to? What else do we need to learn? And I do think that we're given choices about our next stage and what more is there to learn, and how can you learn more, and what do you need to do to learn more. And part of that process of learning more and achieving more and gaining more knowledge, or sort of becoming much more aware of your own spiritual self, part of that I think is being able to say where you go and what kind of experience you would like next. But my understanding is that you don't make that decision all by yourself. You're given help and guidance, and people are there to advise you. At the end of the day, I think it's a choice that is made by not just by us, but by others advising us as well. Chris.
Sanders asking, do you believe in pre-birth spiritual planning before incarnation? Lovely newsletter, love them, and good morning.
Good morning. Not quite sure I understand the question. Can you read that to me again?
Do you believe in pre-birth spiritual planning? So do we plan things before we come here?
Yes, we do. There is a plan in place. There are certain things here that we are meant to do, already planned out for us, let's say, and there are certain things that we have choices about. The biggest choice that we have, and we know this prior to our birth here, but I think many of us forget, the biggest choice that we have is not about how our life is going to go, because many of the things that happen to us, many of the people that we meet, all of those things, so many of those things, not all of them, but so many of those things are preordained. So that's the answer to your question. Is there pre-planning? So yes, but it's not so much about what we do, what we experience. It is our attitude, how we think, how we deal with the things that are given to us, and what we do with them. So I think that yes, I think pre-planning is, yes, well, it's inevitable. I don't think it's just our own pre-planning. I think God has a plan for us. I think that our spiritual advisors have a plan for us. Our angels have a plan for us. So I think that it's planned out. But I know that we're aware of a great deal of what it is that we're going to be dealing with when we get here on this earth plane. Maybe not in minute detail, but in sort of in a lot, with a larger picture. And our attitude then is about how we deal with the things that we've been given, the gifts of pain and tears and heartache, the gifts of joy, all of those gifts. What do we do with them when we have them? And everything is attitude. Chris.
Greg says, hi, Rosemary.
Hi, Greg.
How do we appear in heaven as far as age? Some say we are 30, and some say we appear when we were at our best here on earth. Thanks always.
Well, listen, Greg, isn't this an interesting topic that you brought up here? No, 30 is not the magic number. I don't know why people think that. Maybe when we're 30, we're supposed to be at our best. Certainly when I was 30, I was perhaps prettier than I am now, less wrinkles and so on and so forth. But I think, every decade brings its own beauty and its own joy. And I think every decade brings its own, interesting possibilities. So all I can tell you is this. I have seen people in the spirit world. I've seen old men and old women. I've seen little grey-haired old ladies who just look like somebody's grandmother. When I see them, I often say, oh gosh, because sometimes when I look at people in the spirit world, I'm thinking, how can I describe this person if I'm giving a consultation? How can I describe this person? She just looks like anybody's grandmother, and literally anybody's grandmother. How am I supposed to describe that? There are times when I wish for a wooden leg or a big bulbous nose or some some defining birthmark that I can say, and he has this or she has that. But we look just very ordinary. So, and I'm just thinking, this week I've been speaking to somebody who came for a consultation, and her grandmother just looked, to be honestly, she looked just like any little old grandmother. However, I do, when I'm looking at that little old grandmother, when people come to me from the spirit world, they often present themselves to me or present their appearance to me in a way that the people who I'm giving the consultation to will recognize. The little old lady that you remember, the grandma that you might remember, right? She might have arthritis or have to use a walking stick or something like that. But we don't have any of those ailments whatsoever. But I don't think it's about age. I think I'm going to say, about attitude again. And when I see my father, I see him, and looking at him right now, I didn't expect him to pop in now. I'm seeing, I got my brother here as well. So here I can answer you this question. My father looks to be in his 60s. He was 70 when he died, so he looks younger than he never really looked old anyway. And my brother, who's looking at me with startlingly blue, twinkling eyes. Yes, I've got green eyes, everybody. Isn't that weird? My brother has startlingly blue eyes, blonde hair, and he's how old? It's hard to say how old. 35, 40 something, and will that do? He's nodding. That'll do. So around there, everybody comes in different shapes and different sizes, my darling. So if somebody says to you, "Oh, we're all 30 when we die," it isn't true. Chris,
That's
I had a bit
great.
of fun there.
Yeah, that's great. Carolyn's saying she really appreciates the time and energy putting into the very full and interesting newsletter.
Oh, good. Well, thank you. Yes. Well, I got a bit carried away. I'm thinking, because here's the truth. The truth of the matter is that I am absolutely sure that even though at school, when kids go to school, they get there before Guy Fawkes night, before we celebrate this thing that we've been celebrating for all of these hundreds of years. Um, um, Before that, I'm sure at school they teach you the history of Guy Fawkes. I don't know how thoroughly they go into it, but I thought a lot of kids don't know why we're celebrating. I think it's the same with Thanksgiving. Now, I know that Thanksgiving in America is coming up, and I know that when I came to this country for the first time, I might have had an inkling it had something to do with the Native American culture and the fact that, we're celebrating all of that history. But I think a lot of people don't realize it. A lot of people don't realize that at your Thanksgiving table, the idea is that it's not just family, that you have strangers who come in, who you welcome in, and so on and so forth. I think people don't always understand their history. So I wanted to add in the newsletter a little bit about Guy Fawkes Night, rather than, we build an effigy, we stick it on a bonfire, we set it alight, and we do fireworks. I wanted to give more of the background so that you can understand that we in England, we're not weird. We don't just do it for no reason. There is a reason. And the fireworks that they let off on bonfire night, and I'm sure a lot of Brits don't know this because I didn't know this either. They're supposed to represent just what might have happened had they had all of the gunpowder not been found in the cellar under the palace. Yes, can you imagine that? And it would have been a whole big fireworks display. So we have fireworks to celebrate. There were no fireworks on Guy Fawkes night. Right, that's it, Chris.
Mary says, my 12-year-old daughter has self-esteem or insecure issues that at times negatively affect her life. Does Gray Eagle have any spiritual advice that will make her life better?
Well, I'm going to give you some practical advice because Gregor is putting his hand on my shoulder here. Children don't just develop, none of us just develop issues of self-worth, of insecurities. They have to come from somewhere, and when you're dealing with your children, if you know them really well, and I'm sure that you know your daughter really well, you must have some inkling or some idea of where these insecurities are coming from and where they began. What you need to do, and this reminds me so much of the bottom brick exercise that we do, and if you don't know what I'm talking about when I'm talking about the bottom brick exercise, please go to the website, because we have I think 2 or 3 different examples of what you need to do with the bottom brick exercise, and how as adults we take with us so much of what has happened to us as children, what's happened to us in school, the first time that we were ever made to feel less than or uncertain. And so what we feel, and Greg is putting his hand on my shoulder trying to help you with this and trying to give you this advice, what we feel is that you need to find the root of the issue without giving your daughter a hard time. She's only 12 years old. Having said that, she's 12 years old, and if you have a nice relationship with her, a close relationship with her, I'm sure that you can sit down and just just talk about things together. If you wanted to know what you're trying to do, let her watch one of the bottom brick exercises, because they're so helpful to everybody. Really, they really are. So go to the website, try that. But I think your daughter has perhaps one incident, or you need to figure out the first time, and don't put words into her mouth. Allow her to talk to you. Don't take over. Don't try to help her too much other than encourage her to talk to you. Somewhere she has had somebody or a situation that has made her feel less than she should. You need to get to the root of that, figure out what that's about, or who it was, or what the incident was. Bear in mind, please, when you're doing this, this is absolutely not about you pointing the finger. It's not about saying, well, if it weren't for him, or if it weren't for her, or she did this or she did that. This is just helping your daughter to understand how another person saying something or acting in a certain way or belittling in some way, how if we're not careful, we can take on board that person's criticisms or that person's attitude towards us and allow it to affect us in such a bad way, when in fact, if we can look at that person, we can actually see that it's not your daughter who has the problem. It's whatever it was or whoever it was who made her feel that she had a problem. So you need to talk it out with her. I've done this with my grandson. I do this with my grandson fairly often. There is a certain influence in his life that could be, if we didn't talk about it, could be very negative to him, and also make him feel unsure and uncertain of his own self. But when we talk about how it happens, why it happens, and that it's really not his problem. It's the problem of other people or other situations. He gets it, and he knows there's, it's nothing that he should be worried about. It's nothing that he can change either. So talk to your daughter. It's always a good idea to just talk to your daughter and get her to talk to you, and try to get her to, trust you enough to tell you her innermost heart. That's going to help, I'm sure. Chris.
Betta says, Dear Rosemary, in this period on TV, Maurizio Costanzo is back with his show.
Oh yeah.
You don't know how much I would like to welcome you back to him. I
Oh
have good memories of you and him together.
well, just write to him then, better, and say Rosemary wants to come on your show. Of course, I would love to come on his show, and he's lovely. And I don't think he'd be averse to me coming on his show. Gosh, all these years later, I'd love to be on his show. And so, hey, uh, get going. Write to him. I'm sure if you're determined, he'll answer you, or someone in his office will answer you. He and I have a great relationship. So, better don't just say, "Oh, I wish I could get you back." Do something. Go for it. There, I've given you a job to do. How about that, Chris?
Cheryl says, with regard to subscribing, we're not just fans, we're friends.
Oh,
Isn't that nice?
that Cheryl, you've made my day. Yeah, I mean, when I say that I love the idea of groupies, I guess that's what I'm saying, because I think groupies in the nicest sense of the word, not those weird people who sort of spy through your window and find out all about different things about you. I do feel that you know we recognize so many of you when you come on these shows and you make your comments or you ask your questions, and we do consider you as friends, absolutely. And I just feel that you know it's probably even more than friendship. It's a family all of its own when you are joined together and you connect on a regular basis with people. I think it's just a wonderful, wonderful thing. And we're so fortunate, I think, in that we have really so many positive people on our mailing list. We have so many positive people in our shows. We're lucky that we don't have those awful people who try to disrupt and so on. We love our family. We love our what do we call it, Chris? We love our subscribers. And this is why we really feel that, we've talked about it before, but we really feel we should do something about it, just to say thank you to everybody and just to acknowledge you, because I certainly feel that you acknowledge us all the time. So this is our way of wanting to acknowledge you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
they've sort of put names out there about this is our tribe, this is our community, and that's what it is. We've developed community here.
As Grey Eagle would say, come sit by my fire. And every time you join in with us, and every time you subscribe, you're coming to sit by our fire. Every time a new subscriber comes on, you've come to sit by the fire. And you might only come to sit by the fire for 5 minutes. You might only be here for a short time. As Grey Eagle says, come sit by my fire, take what you can from the fire. And some people leave, he says. Some people warm themselves by the fire, and when they've warmed themselves enough and when they've had enough that they feel able to, they move on. Some people sit by the fire just because they enjoy it, and there are others who sit by the fire and they put wood on the fire. Better going out there, grabbing hold of the Costanza show, being a pest to them, making sure that they understand that I'm available. That's you doing your little bit. That's you putting wood on the fire to feed the fire. And we try to feed the fire. And every time somebody makes a comment or a suggestion, or every time somebody in our tribe, let's say, gives sympathy to somebody else or acknowledges somebody else's pain. Every time you do that, you are adding fuel to our fire, which feeds us, it keeps us warm. So thank you, thank you, thank you, all of you for that. Chris?
Well, that also reminds me, it's not only Betta who can reach out to the people that would get Rosemary and her community. Anyone who's listening to this from now into the future, if you know of somebody that you think would like to have Rosemary on their show, absolutely pursue it. Let us know what you're doing.
Yeah, go out there, everybody. Be warriors. Be active. Be activists for us. That would be great, wouldn't it? And we'd love that. We'd love that. Chris?
All right. Linda says, Mom and I moved to Florida, and after 5 years of taking care of her, she passed in April of 2021. She said, Now it's time for you, Linda. Hoping to make friends and possibly meet someone special. Would you have any insight on that? Much appreciated, and thank you for all you do.
Well, Linda, I want to know where you are, because if you're in Florida and I'm in Florida, there's an opportunity right there, right? Yes, yes. Uh, we know Florida's a big state, but it's not that big. You know, we can drive through it. So that's one opportunity. I think, Linda, what you have to do, and it's a little bit hard. And first of all, let me say, you know, I'm so sorry for your loss, but I'm absolutely certain that your mum is fine. And what a wonderful thing that she said to you. Now it's your turn. I think that shows a wonderful mummy. So yes, I think there are so many things to do in, well, anywhere you are, in fact. But let's speak to Florida itself. I mean, there are lots of sailing clubs. There. I know that where I live, which is close to Sarasota, Sarasota has more theatres per capita than New York City. Can you believe that? But it happens to be true. So Sarasota is a wealth of theatres and so on and so forth. I know that, you know, Tampa has lots of things to do. There are loads and loads of things that you can do. So one of the things, as hard as difficult it is when you're on your own, and I know this very well, one of the things that is hardest to do is to join a group, but figure out what you like to do. I know that when I first came to Florida, I thought I would really like to get involved with the community. So I wanted to join a choir, which because I love singing and I have an okay voice, have a good voice really. I wanted to join a choir, but it it for various reasons, I'll tell you, it didn't work out. That's a whole other fun story to tell you. But I also am a big Scrabble player. So I went to enormous lengths to find a Scrabble group. I could go, I could join, I could have fun. I love words anyway. Oh my gosh, it was a nightmare and it was very disheartening. And I finally found a Scrabble group that that considered letting me in, except that when I spoke to the guy, he said, "Oh yes, but I just want to tell you we're a very serious group here, and we take our Scrabble very seriously." And I started to laugh to myself because I'm thinking, well, you know, I'm really good at Scrabble, and there's no one more competitive than me on the Scrabble board. Having said that, I also like to laugh, and I felt this is not a good fit because he was so somber, he was so serious, and he was so basically, don't come unless you come with a serious attitude. And just by the way, we are excellent. Who wants to join that group? But join a group. Keep, just push forward. Volunteer for things and join groups. You won't regret it if you can do it, but just keep going. But find the things that you think you either might like to learn to do or the things that you're really interested in doing and go on that route. It didn't work for me, but then, hey, I know it'll work for you. I'm sure it will work for you. And if anybody out there has a Scrabble group and they'd love me to join, I'm in. Just saying. Chris.
Natalie responded to your comment. You gave her a message
Gabriel.
from her son. She said, Thank you, and yes, I understand.
Oh, brilliant. Good, 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 good. Yes, yes. Fantastic. I hope it makes you feel good. Chris,
Sharon's asking, do you or Great Eagle see children in my future, or has that ship sailed?
who is this?
Sharon.
Sharon. Uh, no, why would you think that that ship has sailed? Um, I'm going to tell you a story. I won't tell you who it's about, but I'm going to tell you a story about a really, really good friend of mine who was, let's say, getting on a bit in life. And did that ship sail or what have you? Well, she couldn't find a partner, and she was waiting. She thought, if I wait and find a partner, that's what I'll do, and then I'll have a baby. Well, it got to the point where it was obvious that she wasn't going to find a partner. So she took matters into her own hands. And in fact, I know a few people who have done this, and it's worked out really, really well. And they've gone to a sperm bank or however else they've done it. And, and sometimes, even if you have a partner, sometimes you have to do that. Uh, anyway, and did the deed through a sperm bank, was absolutely thrilled to bits with the results. The results are great. The ship did not sail. There she is with a little bundle, and somehow or another, through her getting this little bundle and now being a parent and joining different groups, she's found a partner. So sometimes taking matters into your own hands is why wouldn't you do that? I have so many people I could tell stories about, and it's worked beautifully. Uh, I have another friend of mine who lives actually here in Florida who um, had a fantastic relationship. They wanted to have a child. They were, going forward with that. It was working out really well. And then all of a sudden he upped and left her for another woman. And so there she was going through in vitro and all sorts of things like that. Um, she decided to continue by herself, and she now has a beautiful little girl, and her life is complete. Gone are the days. Just let me say this to all of you lovely men out there, and please don't think that I'm anti-male, because I'm so not, actually. So the other way, I love men for all the right reasons. I love women for all the right reasons. Gone are the days when we are reliant on men to provide us women with the things that we need. For example, a family, a baby, a life. And I'm not sure I think it's a good thing. Sometimes it's not such a good thing. But I think, we pride ourselves on being strong. We women are very strong. And we're finally coming to understand how strong we are. So, Sharon, just let me say, don't have to wait around if you don't want to. Just saying, just an idea. Think about it. Chris.
Tina's asking, I need to find peace with knowing who is behind the stalking I experienced last spring. I
The
need
what?
closure.
The what that she? What is that?
Stalking.
Oh, the stalking. Um, yes, I can understand why you would want closure. I'm so sorry that happened to you. It must have been really frightening. We don't have time on this show for me to go into that. So, um, I mean, I don't know quite what you'd do with that. If you had a consultation, would there be a certainty that you would find out? There wouldn't be a certainty. There'd be a probability, but there wouldn't be a certainty. I think what you have to do, my darling, is to sort of talk to somebody about this. Uh, you must have been terrified by it. Um, we can't, I shouldn't say we, I can't give you any answers here on this show because we simply don't have the time. Chris.
Carson wants to know, is there an exercise we can do to find or confirm our power symbol? I think I know mine, but I want to be sure.
Well, Carson, being a student of mine, I'm hoping it's the same Carson. We are going to get together at some point. We keep saying this, don't we, Chris?
Yes,
We
we
are
do.
going to get together our group, because we've not been together for ages and ages, what with summer and my cracked foot and everything else going on, and Chris has been dealing with all sorts of stuff. But if somebody, Carson, how about it, Carson, if you'd like to have a go at getting everybody together for a social evening, that would be great. And maybe we could ask that question. I can answer that question for you then. How about that, Chris?
Linda says, I am in Sarasota, so I'll make plans to see you in person, and thank you.
Oh, Linda. Wow. Well, we're only up the road. Very, very close. Very, 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 very close. That would be fantastic. You see, you're worrying about making friends, and already you have a friend. Wouldn't it be interesting if we could get a group of women from locally? How about this? All to get together to meet and just have some fun and some chatter and some natter, and yeah, that would be a really fun thing to do. And Sarasota, as I said to you earlier, my lovely, Sarasota has more theatres per capita than New York City. Can you believe that? Sarasota is this fabulous, it's a fabulous, fabulous, is it a city or a town? I'm never quite sure. And they have so much going on in Sarasota. So much that, that doesn't cost you anything either, volunteering for different things. It's amazing what they have in Sarasota and Sarasota County. Maybe they'll have a Scrabble group somewhere.
Well, you haven't looked in a while. Things will have changed.
Well, look, I think I love playing Scrabble. I have a good friend who I used to play Scrabble with all the time. I play with my sister on that online thing with the Scrabble. But I think that any time that we have a reason to get together, whether it's Scrabble, whether it's drafts, whether it's chess or darts or whatever it is, or whether it's just, why don't we all gather together for a movie? It doesn't matter what it is. Anytime we have a chance to get together. I know that COVID has been, stopping us from doing that in some ways, but we do so much online, and we have online get-togethers all the time. So, anytime you have a chance to get together with other people and just have fun, that why not do it? Why not do it? Everything is about attitude. Right, Chris.
So you're now past time, Rosemary, but there is one more comment in the chat
Okay.
box. I've asked you about my grief journey since losing my youngest son at 2.5 years old. I'm really struggling since Halloween. It makes me miss him more and stresses the upcoming holidays, which are hard. Do you have any advice?
Who is this?
This is Kate.
Kate. Oh, my heart goes out to you, my darling. Of course, all of the holidays for all of us who have lost somebody, they're often hard to deal with. When we lose a child, we know that you all know that I feel the loss of a child is the worst loss, the worst kind of loss to bear. If you lived near to me, I would be going to meet you for lunch today, put my arms around you and tell you, come on, we're all here for you. There's no remedy for grief, except you're going to hate me for it, because I hate it when people say this to me. The only remedy for grief is time, and giving it time. And when people say that you can hit me, feel free to sort of give me one of those, what is it, a virtual smack in the mouth if you want to, because who wants to hear that? And the truth is that time, it doesn't make it go away. It just simply helps us to learn to deal with it. But my darling, my prayers are with you right now. And if you feel the need to talk to me, please email Chris, and we can I'll give you some, I don't know what, short time to chat with me, if that would be helpful to you. Okay, that's it. All right, Chris, I think, well, thank you, Chris, for doing this for us. As always, big thank you to Chris. Remember, everyone, we're sending out a little something to all of you who subscribe. And for those of you who subscribe and get on our mailing list, remember, we also give you the newsletter. We will not, I promise you, inundate you with emails every day or every other day even, but you will get our newsletter, which we take great pride in. We shall be back tomorrow in Off the Cuff. Keep posted, because we're saying 7 o'clock, and it may well be 7 o'clock. It could be a little before, a little after. Just keep watching for us, because we are going to be talking about Guy Fawkes Night. We're going to be celebrating Bonfire Night, and do you know, I might make some bonfire toffee. Yeah, let me think about that. Bonfire toffee is great. Anyway, if I don't make it, I can give you a recipe for it, another simple recipe. So we'll be back tomorrow night. We'll also be back on Saturday morning. Do I have a great story for you on Saturday morning? Our story time on Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Wait till you hear this story. It's a good story, really good story. I remembered it the other day, and I started laughing about it and chuckling, because I'm a horrible person. You'll see why if you join me on Saturday morning for our story. Sunday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, I'm making apple crumble. And if you want the recipe is out there for you. I don't know where Chris has put it, but see, if you subscribed, you'd have it, wouldn't you? Go to our Facebook. You'll probably find it on Facebook, I think. The recipe is simple. So that's Sunday. Or if you don't have it, email Chris, KRIS, at rosemaryaltea.com. As for the recipe, if you want a consultation, if you want to know more about our books or more about what we're doing, what we're up to, again, Chris at rosemaryaltea.com, or you can also write to Rosemary at rosemaryaltea.com. Chris will answer despite, and we shall let you know what's coming up for us. Until I see you again, until we meet again, my darlings, which I'm hoping is going to be very, very soon. Please, all of you, have a very blessed rest of the day, and have a very, very blessed rest of the week and weekend, everybody. Bye-bye.